They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that college promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of all nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
So we, eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful friends, welcome to your random, unscheduled session of Rogue. I just got some links earlier that people really want to get out, so I decided to come on and tell you guys about them in case you hadn't yet seen them or heard them, and so you could go share them around as well. And so that is what I am doing here. It's just going to be a real quick one. I just have two different things I want to show you guys. Yes, the title is interesting. These two things are not actually related. If that was unclear, now you know. But also, if you're watching, can you tell me when I'm chatting, does it tell you that I'm Rogue Ways or does it say restream.io? I would love to know because things changed on my end and I'm hoping... Not that it really matters that much. But anyways, what's up, Deus Ex Spiritus and Michelle and Chance of Innerverse is here. I know. I'm not trying to be an unstoppable machine. It's just happening this way. But Chance and I actually just had a super awesome conversation, and you lucky people will get to experience it soon. I think that he's going to release that sometime next week. Chance is also going to come on the show this Sunday. So if you're around Sunday night, 7 p.m., we'll be live streaming here for you all. And so we'll have another super awesome discussion for you guys. And then if you are a subscriber, either at rogue.locals.com or over with Chance at Innerverse, then you'll get to see hour 2 of the discussion he and I just had. And so that should be pretty cool. So go check those things out. That is not why I came on. Thank you, Logan, for telling me that it says Rogue Ways. Appreciate it. What's up? Thank you, Michelle. Also, what's up, love in the midst? Nice to see you. So like I said, this is just a little unscheduled time together here because I had a few things. Some of our fellow... Wow, my screen is weird. There we go. Some of our fellow podcasters have, sent my way and asked me to share. So I'm going to share those with you here today. So first, of course, I always do like to remind you guys about rogueways.org. Where you can get all kinds of stuff. You know, I write some things like Narcissistic Cycles of Abuse, which is a little short little kind of article. I got Pre-Posed as my most recent poem. And of course, some of the posts reminding you of events coming up, like the One Day of Brightness coming up on the spring equinox. That's March 20th. It is on Zoom. You don't have to worry about where you are in the world. You can go. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can be there for all of the hours we'll be doing the retreat, because it will be recorded and you can come and jump back to anything that you may have missed. By coming to this, you also not only get Catherine O'Shea, Alan Sisko, and Emily Atwood, 3 master teachers and practitioners of their various, very different spiritual traditions, all coming together to share with you not just some teachings and some practices and things you can directly apply, but also experiences that you can have and enhance. And, you know, when we're all together doing this together, it uplifts all of our experiences and our skills, our spiritual skills that come about. So it really is nice. You know, you get to learn, you get to practice, you get to deepen your own spiritual experiences and practices. So it's just cool. And I hope that you guys want to come, but you also will get the opportunity to win one of 2 will be given away that day. Passes to Catherine O'Shea. She does sessions one-on-one. If you've seen Catherine on the show, you know how gifted she is, and you know how deep you could go in a one-on-one session with her for, I think they're an hour and a half. Usually they're pretty life-changing, and so that in itself is enough reason, I think, to buy a ticket and come, but also the day itself is obviously going to be amazing. This list of things that we're going to do is just a possibility. There could be more. There could be who knows what mixture of these things, but last time everyone who went kind of blew, I like to say, we blew our hearts and our minds open, and all of us, I think, got more than we expected. So it looks like you get a little discount if you're a reader of the site. So maybe you want to go check that out. And also, of course, you can hop over. You can get some tarot readings from me if you're looking for that kind of guidance. I also do spiritual guidance and ceremony for people if you have something else going on that you want to address. And in the shop, I sell all kinds of goodies. Some of them help you go into and do your own ceremony. I also write books and sell them here, and you can get an inscription from me to you if you buy them here instead of Amazon. I do educational consulting and writing consulting. I teach all kinds of classes, mostly about various spiritual tools and tips and tricks and techniques. And I do also sell jewelry, both orgone pendants and now these crystal and stone jewelry that I make as well. So more and more of those come out. They change a lot actually because they kind of move kind of fast sometimes. So you may want to check back frequently and see what's up in the shop there. And if you are in rogue.locals.com, you always get the option to grab those first before they even go on the site. So that's one more perk of being in the Rogue community. You often get discounts to various things, and we just share cool information and ideas with each other. It's not just me posting to you, it's everybody there gets to post and share whatever they want. Sort of like Facebook, but better because nothing gets censored, and you can actually be sure that you're seeing every post and every comment, which is in itself worth it. So come support the show over at rogue.locals.com. And of course, Rockfin is so crucial. You know, Whitney Webb has just been deplatformed from Patreon even, just Twitter, Facebook, all these places that are the sort of centralized hubs controlled by the powers that be have been deplatforming us for years, and it just gets worse and worse. And so Rockfin is committed to not censoring. And so you can find me there at rockfin.com/rogueways. And it's really important to follow there, especially in case I ever did get deplatformed from YouTube. So rogue.locals.com and Rockfin are both a way to keep in touch and support the show and make sure that you don't get cut off against your will. The most recent show we did on Middle Path over on Rockfin was this last Thursday, just yesterday, with Dan of Cosmic Keys. It was a super awesome conversation about initiation and growth, and so go check that out if you didn't see it live with us, but we do live every Thursday there. Middle Path is the new show. What's up, Gordon? What's up, Mateo, Lizzie Fizzy? Nice to see you guys all out there in the chat. Thank you. I like those creations too. So let's get to it. The first thing is, you know, on Rogue Ways, we've talked about a couple times over the past year this idea that, you know, they've shown in studies that with especially corona, rhino, and adenoviruses, when they try to make vaccines, that beings that get those injections later go on to encounter those viruses in the wild, if that's how you think things work. And either way, whatever's happening, they have a hyper-violent response after that. So the vaccine not only doesn't prevent them from getting sick, it actually causes them to get even sicker. So we've talked about that before, and that is part of this idea somewhat. But this Geert van den Bosch, I don't know how to say his name, I'm sorry if I butchered it. He has been getting out on Del Bigtree and other places on this pandemic podcast, for example, and I'll put this link right now in the chat for you if you would like to go check this out. I'm not going to play it for you, but it's worth checking out because he's pulling that thread out, but also pointing out that this mRNA injection could very possibly be programming your immune system to basically not function unless it was told via mRNA what to attack. And if the viral theory is correct, or anything akin to it, and that is actually how our immune systems work, then this would essentially be making everyone who gets the vaccine completely the opposite of immune to not just things they already had immunity to, but anything that might come in the future, and dependent upon big pharma in order to program their immune systems for them to fight these things off. So again, if you're taking it, this man's belief and understanding is that if you're taking this vaccine, you are essentially killing your immune system and making yourself dependent on big pharma for the rest of your life. That I don't know. I have not watched it. I've not evaluated it. I'm not telling you that it's true or not true. I'm telling you that is what this person thinks, and that a lot of people think it's very important to get this out as fast as possible. And so I said that I would come out and share it with you. And, you know, at the very least, we can say that the tendency and trend of big pharma over time has been to try to make people more and more dependent on it instead of themselves. So that fits, at least somewhat. And we know we've been trying to figure out why mRNA, why now, and why are they so very, very focused on this vaccine over every other vaccine they've ever invented. And so that might, be part of the answer to that puzzle. So I want to throw it out there for your consideration, and so that you can share it with your people and see, if we can start having a conversation about this. I don't know that we'll be able to know. It is definitely good to think about, and it's definitely good to be able to warn people about if they're still listening and if they will, hear us, then it's not a bad thing to bring up to them. So I still want to watch it and evaluate it even further. And so maybe we'll talk about it again on Rogueways in more depth, but there it is for your consideration. The other thing I wanted to point out was this fucking crazy thing. I saw this, and maybe you saw it too, but I saw it on Twitter by Not the Bee, which is a really funny site you may have seen that publishes what should be satire and isn't. And this was on that site. This should be satire and is not. It's very real. And this is talking about how the California Department of Education will vote next week on a new statewide ethnic studies curriculum that advocates for the decolonization of American society and elevates Aztec religious symbolism, all in the service of the left-wing political ideology. So this is an actual curriculum that's actually being voted on in the California Department of Education. Of course it had to be California, right? California is fucking psycho. And so the ethnic studies model curriculum is what it's called. And it's going to go out to primary and secondary. So that's, K through 12 is primary and secondary in the state's lingo. It's 10,000 public schools, 6 million students. So these are all the little kids. These are all our little, even up to high school is still children, right? They're still kids. So they're going to be ramming this down the throats of all our kids if this passes. I would guess, not knowing anything about it, curriculum doesn't often even come up for a vote, to be honest. So if it's already at that stage, it's not like it's super debated still. It could possibly fail. It's not like that's unheard of, but it's pretty likely that it will pass. You just don't usually bring curriculum up to that point that it's being voted on unless you're like pretty well set on it being, brought into the curriculum. So, good call. Going back to the vaccine thing, my mouth shall speak the truth. Just put up Daniel 2:43, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Could definitely be the splitting point that is talked about in that phrase. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So, this new ethnic studies curriculum is based on the pedagogy of the oppressed, which I used to be really into. I used to be really into Paulo Freire and Marxism, as you may know if you've known me long enough, and very much not now. But it comes out of that idea that you have to teach students about, the history of oppression and class warfare and all of this in order for them to become empowered to take down the system, basically. That's the quick and dirty of it. And so they're fighting white supremacy, racism, other forms of oppression, sexism, all the isms, all the transphobia, all this stuff, all the things you can think of, again, which all of it is stuff that we should not support and not promote, and we should condemn. It's just interesting that we're so obsessed with it when we're at the least racist, least sexist, least horrible point in history. But anyways, they're not going to be teaching about that. They're not going to be teaching about how actually everything's been getting better in every single measurable metric that you could possibly determine. They're not going to celebrate all of those successes. Instead, they're just going to keep pointing out the history of Eurocentric white supremacy, capitalism, and how oppressive that is, how everything's patriarchal, it's therefore sexist and misogynist, hetero patriarchal, or really just heteronormative, and all of that. And, how we stole all the land, and they're really focused on how apparently white people were the ones who came up with hierarchy and no one else had that, even though it's just patently absurd. Every single culture we've ever looked at has had hierarchies built in to their systems. Anyways, and how whiteness has basically stolen all the money and everybody else is fucked. So they're going to focus on all of that. What's really interesting to me and that I wanted to point out, I'm going to find it here. You know, there's been colonization, genocide, and all of that has been going on. So they're going to focus on decolonizing and counter-genocide. But this part, the regeneration of indigenous epistemic and cultural futurity. I mean, they just have to like make shit up and make it sound smart for people to be like, oh yeah, totally. I must be too stupid to understand, and therefore I should let you do whatever you want. All right, so this model curriculum has an ethnic studies community chant. The curriculum recommends that teachers lead their students in a series of indigenous songs, chants, and affirmations. It sounds nice on the surface. I'm not opposed to, you know, bringing other cultures in and sharing and, you know, teaching maybe some songs and whatever. And I don't know. I'm not opposed to that. I don't think it's a bad practice. It's cool. It's cool to look at different cultures. We've been doing that my whole life in my education and secondary and primary education. You know, we had things like that going on. So I don't see anything wrong with that. But specifically, they have the Inlachek affirmation, which appeals directly to the Aztec gods, specifically the god which they're clapping and chanting to, Tezcatlipoca, which I probably butchered too, whom the Aztecs traditionally worshipped with human sacrifice and cannibalism. So, like, this is very reminiscent for me of when Black Lives Matter decided they should start chanting the names and inviting the spirits of the killed, you know, murdered or whatever, killed black people, whether you think they're murdered or not, who were killed by police. And basically doing ceremony and invocation of those souls in the middle of the street with all of these people like chanting around them. Like, this reminds me of that. You know, it's just interesting to me that you'd get to the point of leading your students in chanting, especially to a god honored and worshipped with human sacrifice and cannibalism. And specifically, the part that worries me is when they then ask him for the power to be warriors for social justice. So if you know anything about just the very basics of sort of magic and, you know, any kind of ceremony, basically, and working with spirits, these are the basic, very basics of that, right? You would, you chanting and you like clapping and doing these things is sort of getting into that trance state somewhat. At the very least, you're acting in accordance with bringing something about, right? You're giving it your energy. You've probably already been taught about this god. You might have pictures of him around, so you're visualizing this god, and maybe even you're visualizing the human sacrifice and cannibalism that went along with it if they're teaching that part. And then you're requesting something from them. That's that invitation that any spirit waiting around is waiting for. Remember, we all have free will. And we all have absolute ability to say, like, these are my boundaries, and this is what can and can't come through it. Whether something's come through and we want to kick it out, or whether something's outside and we want to invite it in. Those are the basics, right? Those are the basics of any of those spiritual functions. And so the combination of the chanting, the song, and naming the god specifically, and then asking him for something is pretty, it's fucking psycho. So, like, we went from schools being like, well, we want to make sure everyone can count and read and like do these things and like understand their society, to like, well, we want to indoctrinate them to accept these old gods they know nothing about, invite them into their lives and ask them for specific powers. This is fucking insane. Yeah, like you're saying, Deus Ex, don't feed the archons. Like, you're at the very least, you're getting all these kids to get like riled up and get all energetic and like give their energy to this thing. And at the worst, you're then inviting that thing in to these kids, their spiritual bodies, and it's absurd. It's absurdly inappropriate. And I just also wonder, like, what are parents going to be like? I mean, you know that any Christian parent is not going to be, and so, you know, that's one cool thing about Christianity, I guess. But are other parents who are like any other random religion, are they even going to be aware that this is happening? And if so, are they going to have the sort of mental and emotional fortitude to be like, hey, no, you don't get to like teach my kid how to invite entities into their life? Like, what the fuck is going on in schools? It's crazy. And so they're especially invoking this deity to, to bring about decolonization. And it's not just that they want to stop some sort of genocide. It's this idea of counter-genocide that's also very interesting. So who are they committing genocide against? I don't know. And, this article takes it directly to the idea that they're trying to displace the Christian God. And it's a possibility. But at the very least, like I said, you're inviting kids to participate in spiritual entity worship. And that's fucking weird to me. That is not what school is for, no matter whether you're Christian or not, or whatever you like. It doesn't even matter. This is just a super, super strange thing. So I was just talking about it earlier today, and I was like, I didn't really imagine the sort of final stages of like, if that's what this is, right? Of like the sort of end times, like clamp down on people to look like this. Like, I didn't expect everyone to go along with things like we're seeing with masks and vaccines. I didn't expect it to be this sort of weird ethnic studies model curriculum way of sneaking in like demonic entity attachment to children and shit, like turning our kids into psychopaths with this constant masking. They can't even get like the proper emotional training that you get from seeing people's faces. Like, it's just very different from what I imagined. I imagined just forceful, guns rolling in, murdering everyone, and like putting people in camps. I did not imagine this slow roll, weird Twilight Zone dystopia of like absurdity. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you. I'll put this out there in the chat for you. Again, this is coming from a sort of Christian background, but I mean, you can still get the gist from it. So yeah, that's what's happening in California, I guess. It just gets worse and worse. But those are just the two things I wanted to share with you and, make you aware of if you weren't already aware of what is going on and how insane it is. So especially check out both of them. Check out the vaccine alert from our friend virologist up there, and check out what you think is going on. I know most of us here are like, I wouldn't get it no matter what, but it might be interesting to understand what's happening to others, or maybe to be able to share with others as one more reason why you might not want to mess with your genetic code. And yeah, be less white and drink Coke. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, that's the other thing is, as Deus Ex is pointing out, like not just summoning entities from, Aztec gods or whoever that is, but also ones specifically associated with sacrifice and cannibalism. Like, all right, you couldn't have like picked just like a more like benign, kind of easy to swallow one. I don't know. It's just fucking crazy. But yeah, share the article there for anybody who wants it. Vanguard of Truth, nice to see you. And so that was just my quick update, just really short. Wanted to share those things with you. And but yeah, please do come to the event. We have so many people coming. It's gonna be so cool this time. I'm very excited. If you came last time, you already know. If you haven't come yet, you're gonna love it. So go grab your ticket if you haven't yet. And I do have a couple more stone creations coming up to put into the crystal store, and just so many things going on at the site. So always go check that out, rogueways.org. And I hope to see you on rogue.locals.com later, as we move forward. And of course, just go check out Rockfin and at least subscribe so that you're there in case this all disappear somehow, which I don't consent to and don't agree to and is not going to happen. But, good to have backups. And so I'll see you guys Sunday with Chance on Interverse. Super excited for our chat. We just have so many awesome conversations and it's so much fun. And so I can't wait to do that with you guys. And I will see you there. So until you master the art of helping other people avoid unintentional demon worship and entity attachment through their schools, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. We got this, fam. Mwah.
I heard man, they at it again, and I'm out to tell the truth once more. That's right. It's on the cracking, unknown in the house. APOGZ, that's right. Hitting the stereo near you. Truth is the best thing. And it's on. Yo, I once thought that I wanted to get Denver on track, but there's something more bigger than that. Something lurking, waiting to blow this state right off the map. A hidden agenda related to September. Doves carved up on the wall next to the highway. Up in the concrete, while rolling home next to where I stay. With state's destruction, like Lockheed Martin malfunction. While NORAD's in the mountain anticipating our next move. My heart's jumping and I'm like, fuck waiting. While crooked taxes are burning a hole in my pocket. With a dollar bill in the pyramid that's watching. Instead of having a capstone on top of it, they have an eye with a fast surprise while you're flossing it. Greedy niggas jocking it, politics plotting it. So who you vote for really doesn't mean shit. So save your energy from being drained by the enemy. Skull and bones of Freemasonry, envisioning dreams of them chasing me. Skull and bones of Freemasonry, envisioning dreams of them chasing me. Skull and bones of Freemasonry, secret agencies with a plan to dominate all of man. Check the records of DIA, strange murals and paintings similar to the ones next to the highway. With pyramids and flames underneath them looking like they're about to fly away. I can't be tripping, but it sounds like I'm on acid. Most people slipping, taken below DIA held captive in the near future, where they won't hesitate to reinstate new laws for a bigger cause. I'm talking about established civilian concentration camps, introducing the military's labor programs. Expand your mind just a little bit, forget the little shit before you witness the belittlement of your people. Expand your mind just a little bit, forget the little shit before you witness the belittlement of your people.
Feds ain't stretching the truth, the script that he's spitting is true. Pay attention to what's going on or it might happen to you. When it's happening too, cellular communication monitor, behavior studied and controlled through chemicals bombing nerves. Thomas Murder, Jesus ain't got anything to do with it. Religious cynic, where experiments cage and lace in terms of accepted limits. Things they can't explain to the sky when I'm in the Rockies. Chakra systems limited due to the voltage overhead pop. Mind control victims, slap clips and machine guns for recess. FCC will help us speak less, manipulate us through weak. Feel right non-fiction with the CIA trying to kill me filthy. Talking about the underground facility at DIA, no one feels that place laced with hints. Notice whenever I return home, lack some references in a new world Masonic capstone. Employ in Area 51 workers to build, and I don't mean to rant. In the face of an emergency, it doubles as a FEMA camp. The reaction solution trickery repeated through history. NORAD's listening in using technology, tracking where you piss and sleep. Paranoid or just facing the fact. Better watch what you say, it's another day under the Patriot Act.
Expand your mind just a little bit, forget the little shit before you witness up a little bit of your people. Expand your mind just a little bit, forget the little shit before you witness up a little bit of your people.
The idea is to bring people to the point where they are helpless, passive, and unable to assert their own creative power to form anything else. Success for people like this is measured in terms of money, which they then translate into power.
Corruption and violations of the Constitution. Secret societies, the push for one world government. I'd like to get corruption and violations of the Constitution.
The idea is to bring people to the point where they are helpless, passive, and unable to assert their own creative power to form anything else.